2022 Hot 6 GSL Super Tournament Season 2.
Welcome everyone to the final day of the final tournament of 2022 here at Africa TV for StarCraft 2. The GSL Super Tournament. It's been an amazing tournament. It's really been an incredible year overall. We're going to start this off with the round of 4 with 2 TVZs, possibly going to a TVZ final or a mirror matchup final.
Yeah, ByuN versus Solar and Dark versus Bunny. We have 2 fantastic TVZs lined up today, and potentially even a TVZ Grand Finals, as we have Terrans and Zergs on both sides of the bracket. And I don't think you could ask for a better way to finish off the year, because this Super Tournament has been a tournament of upsets. Yeah. Both Maru and Hero lost in the first round, and of the remaining players, I think only Dark has made it to a Super Tournament Grand Finals. So it's going to be an exciting finish to 2022.
It's been wild, man. It's sad that we didn't have a Protoss in the round of 4, but honestly, we usually have a Protoss win the Super Tournament. That's one of the interesting little stats coming out of the years of Super Tournaments that we've hosted here at Africa TV. I do think Dark is the safest bet going forward here, but like you were saying, State, there's been a lot of upsets so far. We could have some more here tonight.
I wouldn't be surprised if Bunny was able to take down Dark too. I mean, Dark is a fantastic player, but so are a lot of the players that Bunny has beaten, not only in the Super Tournament, but a couple of weeks ago at DreamHack Atlanta. He's on a tear recently at Atlanta. He also almost won his first international Grand Final, barely losing out to Hero. And he already got his revenge, so he's got to be riding a lot of momentum coming here to Super Tournament. I'm looking for him to make that a very interesting series.
It does seem like this year has been one of redemption arcs here. You know, even going all the way back to Creator, who of course did not win the GSL, but did get to a finals, which is of course, you know, record-shattering for someone like him who's been around since the very beginning. But, you know, when you talk about Bunny, you could certainly be right. If Bunny were to come out here and defeat Dark, maybe this would really be his Cinderella story. On the other side of the bracket, you have ByuN, who I feel like, as strong as he is, and obviously not just a GSL champion, a world champion in the past, is probably the weakest out of the 4. But if he can manage to defeat Solar, and let's not forget, ByuN got here off the blood of Maru, taking him out in his path, that would be another incredible upset.
Yeah, for ByuN, I think it all comes down to his TVZ today, because as we saw against Maru, his TVT is pretty wild, it's pretty aggressive, and it's pretty top tier. I mean, Maru has been a TVT killer all year long. ByuN broke an insane offline losing streak against Maru by beating him earlier in this tournament. So the big question that I have here in the first match is, exactly where is ByuN's TVZ at? Because if he can ride the momentum that he's been building so far in this tournament and he beats Solar, if he does it in a convincing fashion, who's to say that he can't also beat Dark? Because ByuN, he kind of has a unique flavor on the way that he plays Terra, and it's a little bit quirky how he's able to make kind of unconventional unit compositions work. He goes for more aggressive timings, and I'm excited to see exactly what he brings here in this first match.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun when we get to the Dark matches here. ByuN versus Solar, I have to imagine this is either going to be extremely close or Solar is going to just pave over ByuN and move on. ByuN is a player, like you were mentioning, State, he's got very good TVT. I do wonder, you know, if his style has ever in the modern era really been effective against Zergs. It does seem like Zerg right now is just a very robust race. It seems to be very hard to kind of overpower in some of these micro fights that are not the traditional, like, okay, siege tanks, widow mines, and marines trying to kite banelings out. You know, ByuN has sort of made his name off of these unusual skirmishes, which oftentimes he comes out on top.
Yeah, and Solar at the same time, we're talking a little bit about how these players are riding momentum coming into this. Solar has also been playing fantastic. Of course, he is getting here into the semifinals of Super Tournament, but even at DreamHack, he barely lost to Maru in the quarterfinals in a best-of-5 series. I think the map score was 3-2, which kind of shows where his ZBT is at. Almost beating Maru in any best-of-X series offline is a feat in and of itself, so it's going to be a very good match. I'm interested in seeing how these 2 styles kind of clash, because as you said, it does feel like Zerg's in a pretty good spot here, at least in Korea, in terms of the way ZVT is going. We've seen Terrans kind of shy away from the CC first and a 2-base kind of, I don't want to say all in because it's not exactly all in, but the pressure builds that we saw in the previous season of GSL, it's been a lot more macro focused for them. And as we've seen as recently as Dark in that final match against Cure, Zerg can kind of hang with Terran late game if you're able to play your cards right.
Looks like we're ready to go into game 1 of this best of 5. ByuN vs Solar, a fight for the finals. Fight for the finals, sorry. Starts now in the GSL Super Tournament.
Terran, ByuN. Zerg, Solar.
So, you know, if you've cast for as long as me or watched for as long as me, you know, you definitely get used to these players getting to a certain, you know, layer in a GSL and usually staying there and not getting further along. And ByuN is somebody who for the last couple of years has been very strong, but, you know, he's not a guy I would have imagined to be in the finals of a GSL, right? But, you know, here he is. I would say against an easier opponent than Maru. Although I do think Solar easily one of the best Zergs in the whole world. Solar's nothing to, you know, to sneeze at. But, you know, that would be an incredible story. And look, he already beat Maru. I don't want to diminish the results of that at all. I just want to say that they were some very short games.
They were
some
quick.
Very specific, like nuanced TVT games. And again, that really shows how strong of a player ByuN is because Maru almost never loses TVT, literally ever. So the fact that he was beaten there, basically causing the biggest upset, an even bigger one, I think, than Hero being eliminated early on, was Maru falling to ByuN, of all people there. So I want to see what he's got this time around. But again, I do think the way for Solar to probably play against ByuN is just to play that very, very passive Zerg style, a very growth-oriented style, where you're not really trying to seize any moment early on and instead surpass the Terran.
Right. A lot of the times I've seen Solar play has been in ZVP because, of course, I used to analyze a lot of Protoss games being a Protoss player myself. Sure. And he's very good at fighting in the mid game, not only with pressure builds, but in reacting to attacks that come to him. And I feel like that's exactly the way that he wants to play this ZVT as well, especially against ByuN of all players. ByuN is kind of a wild card in terms of what kind of builds he might come with, what kind of timings or attacks he might choose out of his toolkit to use in a best of X series. And I feel like if Solar is on top of his scouting, if he's making the right reads and just kind of reacting to what ByuN is throwing at him throughout this series, he'll be in a good spot. But that's easier said than done. ByuN can be quite tricky, already starting things out here in game number 1 with the CC first into what will likely be 2-1-1, 2 barracks and then a factory and a starport. And we'll see where he goes with this. No third command center dropped just yet.
So the Lings are going to come up. He is going to get the kill. I believe he can't see the second barracks. Not that it's the biggest. Oh, no, I'm sorry, he does.
I barely glimpsed it.
Never mind.
Yeah, for a moment I thought
that
he might
ramp
only
was lower
see...
to the ground than the other ramps. How's that possible?
Yeah, for a moment I thought he might only see the tech lab and not know exactly what he's researching there, but he does know it is 2 barracks.
So, yeah, for now we wait. Stim is coming here. I'm sorry, was there a third barracks or it's just 2 racks?
2 barracks, 1 factory, 1 starport.
Okay, so this is a very normal play. We're probably going to have medevacs incorporated, and then there's going to be the sweeping phase where he's going to try to come in here and just gun down any creep tumors that he can find.
Yeah, this is kind of the bread and butter TVZ opening. CC first is, of course, a little bit risky, but as we've talked about many times over the course of this tournament and the previous season of GSL, it's very difficult for Zerg to roll the dice and effectively counter that in a best-of-5 series. So the most interesting junction in ByuN's build for me is going to be when he decides to build a third command center, if he does decide to build one at all. Because you and I have been kind of scratching our heads over the past couple of weeks, going from GSL Season 3 to Super Tournament and watching the Terran players go from this incredibly high win rate 2-base CC first style that just kills Zergs in the mid game to suddenly not doing it at all in Super Tournament, only going for the 3 CC builds when they do CC first openings.
Well, sometimes builds become very hot for a little bit, and everybody kind of picks him up, and then it becomes unwieldy to use in the meta anymore because people are basically just preempting it. It's why you really got to be able to kind of ebb and flow through the way the game's seen and be able to respond. By the way, stim done, and we do have that small set of infantry coming out now.
Yep. +1 infantry weapon started for ByuN as well, and already adding a 3rd barracks, so this is going to be a little bit more aggressive.
I actually got tripped up in what I saw. I thought he, for a second, didn't make the 2 medevacs. I'm like, oh, I don't know what's going on. Okay, so he's going to send that out. And look, this is to set up for a push. There's really nothing bad about this. This is actually a good build to copy if you were watching and trying to learn.
Right, it's reminiscent of what we saw last season.
Yeah, it's you know, it's kind of the Goldilocks build. You know, it's not too greedy. It's not too much of a rush. It's kind of just in the middle. And you know, this is going to be a follow-up with some tanks here. Now, this is a game we've certainly seen many times before. We're going to see what exactly ByuN has to offer here. He does not manage to kill any queen. Well, he does actually kill 2 queens right there, and he could even get a 3rd. He does not. Pulls away. Minimal damage there on the medevac. Nice dive from ByuN. And I don't see a 3rd command center.
2 more barracks. We're going back to Season 3, baby.
Yeah, we're going back. This is where the original will never be surpassed by the sequel.
That was a great opening push, though, from ByuN. Generally, when when Terran goes for this kind of opening, the first timing that you're seeing right here with the 2 medevacs and a handful of Marines, the job of that is to keep the creep spread under control, force Zerg to make some units so that their drone economy is a little bit weaker, and potentially even pick off queens. And not only did ByuN succeed in making Solar make units, keep the creep spread back, but he was also able to pick off 2 queens, so he's going to have a bit of leverage coming in here with this siege tank push, and looks like he's going to try and siege this position by the rocks.
Zerg's expanding to the bottom down here. He's not going to be taking the space to the top. But in a perfect world for Terran, you're actually shelling a hatchery already. And so, this is actually crazy.
Wow.
He is going to try to push into the main. This is one of the harder maneuvers in the game. Also, when it falls hard. He's going to come up here onto the high ground. Now, where are the Banelings? Oh my god, he almost gets both queens. Instead, only gets 1. Guns down the Spore.
The Ling Banes are going for a counterattack by the looks of things.
Oh, you're right.
They're posturing right outside of ByuN's natural expansion, but I don't think Solar recognizes maybe that this is a pretty deadly push coming into the main.
Well, there's no reinforcements. I think his goal is to catch it. Oh my god, ByuN is everywhere. And so the attempt to counterattack, it just falls flat because, you know, there's just nothing to counterattack into. Terran has decided to stay back and stay inside the main here.
Exactly.
Where did the tanks go?
The tanks, I think, are still behind the mineral lines at what would be the 3rd base, the triangle 3rd. And ByuN, I think he recognized the situation, too, because he still is not rallying out. He's playing very conservatively with this bio here. He knows that this isn't all that Solar has. He knows that Solar has a lot more units, and now he finally does see them at the 3rd base of Solar. But so far, this push, keep in mind, oftentimes when we see Terrans go for this kind of opening, the objective is, as you said, to shell a hatchery and to deny or kill the 4th hatchery. He already did that with the drop, so anything extra is just a plus right now for ByuN. He's getting drones. This is huge damage coming in. And back at home, there are so many Marines, so many siege tanks. 50 Marines in total on the field. He's lost almost nothing so far.
Oh, look at that. Is that intentional to put the tanks in the back like that to hide them? Oh, you know, this is one of those funny moments where you throw your buildings down wherever and you're like, oh, that's a really bad spot. Big Baneling attack comes in here now. The tank's soaked. There's not a lot of room for the Marines to spread, but it doesn't matter because the Baneling count is so low. He can drive that right back. And I got to say, in an insanely impressive game, it looks like Solar is barely hanging on in this game.
Solar's barely hanging on, and ByuN just, it feels like he's in complete control right now. This position by the triangle 3rd here with Solar has not yet been able to break these tanks and these Marines. They've gotten so much damage in, but hold that thought, Tasteless. A lot more Banelings rolling in. The Zerglings want to get up a surround to give some coverage for these Banelings. Oh, look at those tank shots. Tons of damage coming into the Banes. Marines are going to have to retreat away.
Okay.
This is a nice engagement here for ByuN. Trading out only a handful of tanks, and his bio count stands strong. 60 army supply to 53.
You know, right now, Zerg's being squeezed pretty hard. That very late 3rd command center is going to come up, and if the Zerg can't keep a 4th base up, it's going to spell disaster. Now, a lot of Banelings throughout this game have been killed off, and most of them have gotten pretty much no value. They haven't really connected to any targets. we still have this very odd position with the outside the main that's still generating threats. I imagine ByuN never expected this to last as long as it did. And now that Terran's going to come down here and take out this 4th hatchery, there's literally no way to save this. It will be picked off. It will probably be picked up after this.
And Solar once again on a 3-base economy.
Whoa. Okay, I was going to say.
It's kind of close.
It's his screen over this fight.
And ByuN's just going to drop back down. He knows that there's nothing that can really contest these medevacs.
If you look at the minimap, there's big drop over here. If you look at the minimap, there's only 2 places Zerg can expand. Terran basically covers both.
Exactly. That small army, this one right here, these siege tanks and the Marines have gotten so much value. Even if Solar is able to clean these up now, the damage has already been done. Solar has still not been able to plant a 4th hatchery yet. He's had his 4th hatchery get denied multiple times, including a complete kill, so he didn't even get the minerals back for the plant. And right now his economy is really struggling. Before this attack even happened, Solar was at 60 workers, and since then, he hasn't been able to reach that point. ByuN's just done so much economic damage, and the army supplies really tell the story right now. ByuN with a 50% larger army supply, 100 to 66 is, once again, the Marines come in, focusing down another Queen, don't quite get it. Solar, ooh, barely missing that medevac. And ByuN's gonna strike, he knows that the 4th hatchery is coming down to this, and now he has Liberators.
I think this game is almost over, unless Solar has the most insane fight. And, you know, honestly, ByuN's spreading is just looking so good. I feel like this is ByuN like 3.0 or something. Like, I mean, he looks so much better. And is making this look so easy, and he's basically tying the Zerg into knots, trying to, as the Zerg's trying to just, you know, find any ground where he can get anything done here.
Oh, Queens can't transfuse off creep, that's 2 of them going down. Solar does have some Hydras coming out that might be able to help with the Liberators, but right now his army, I'm not sure if he's able to take an engagement off creep to actually stop ByuN from repeatedly denying these 4th hatcheries. And oh my god, Tasteless. ByuN is coming in yet again. Siege tanks here at the triangle third, set up behind the minerals. Drops going on in the main base, this time with Liberators.
Yeah, he's going to come up now. And, you know, this is already such a headache. This goes to show you one of the problems if you don't go for mutas. It's kind of, you know, these moments where the ground is basically divided can become pretty troublesome to try to control. You can see the Banes are going to do their job here. I mean, Terran still has sort of a presence out.
Oh, that's so many Marines.
Already so much infantry is just coming down. Now there's a counterattack. They may end up crisscrossing each other here. Oh no, it's going to come from behind. No. I'm wrong again. Okay, now he's going to pull back and try to hit this from behind.
I think Solar a little bit indecisive, but there's no medevacs with his army, so if Banelings can get connections on these Marines, it could be deadly here for ByuN, but there's no Banelings yet. The Banelings just now rolling in. Lings do have a surround, so that's a fantastic trade for Solar, but is it going to be enough? ByuN's doing so much damage here in the main base.
Yeah, looks like this Hydra Den may fall. The drones are going to come back. It's going to be a good target for them to try to get.
Hydralisk 10 falls right before Muscular Augments completes, and now the Marines even cutting back into Liberators here. ByuN just getting so much value out of all of his units. He's really only had one misstep, which was the Marine Ball coming here in the 4th hatchery, but I feel like the damage he's done more than makes up for that. 90 RV supply to 60 as ByuN just continues to leverage this lead. Marines now coming in, sniping more drones, more Queens, and I feel like Solar's on his last legs.
Yeah, I think this game is basically over. ByuN has done so much damage in a pretty masterful mid-game TVZ here, just controlling so well. You can see the Banes come in, but the moment that ByuN identifies he's not in a safe position, he just pulls out right away.
The drops continuing in the main base. ByuN is everywhere right now. It feels like Solar, every time he is able to put out one fire, at least another one sprouts up somewhere on the map. And he might even lose the lair here. This is just so much damage coming in.
That is a big stake in the heart of the Zerg right now. I mean, you know, it's been a pretty tight game economically here for ByuN, but he's basically kept, you know, a couple percentage points ahead of the Zerg the whole time. And now we're starting to get those really fatal blows in there. You know, the bases that have been picked off, the layer tech has been reset, which takes a while to actually get back onto your feet with. The Hydra Den has been remade. And I mean, yeah, that's going to be it. GG, ByuN takes game 1. And what I got to say was a pretty brilliant match overall. I mean, he really played out that 2-base play. He did manage to get those tanks outside the main and kind of leverage that spot for honestly longer than I could have imagined was possible in the matchup.
And even when he got pushed off of it, he just came back again with Liberators and had an even more fortified position. And yes, Solar was able to clean it up, but not after ByuN got more than enough value out of that army. And honestly, Tasteless, for map number 1, that felt like championship form ByuN. That was spectacular. There was really only one misstep that he made in terms of control that entire game, which is completely phenomenal because he was attacking non-stop in multiple locations all game long. Before he set up that siege at what would have been the triangle third there for Solar, Solar was on about 60 drones. And since ByuN's first drop in the main, Solar never again reached that 60 drone count. ByuN just had his economy in a complete chokehold.
We're going to go to Moondance for map number 2. ByuN has managed to take Solar down in a pretty traditional TVZ, just a powered-up 2-base play. What's going to happen here in the second game? Solar needs to start to try to recover. He was basically taking a beating the entire game, from the first push all the way to the last there from ByuN.
Yeah, ByuN is just playing on fire right now, and Solar is really going to need a win here and try to stop this momentum. He does not want this to go to match point in a best-of-5. Hopefully he'll be able to tie this up 1-1. ByuN warming his hands just a little bit.
Keep in mind the winner is going to be in the finals, so it's a long journey ahead to become the Super Tournament champion. But if you could take down Solar in a game like that, I think Dark has to feel threatened looking at that, at least that first game.
Absolutely. All right, Tasteless, it looks like Moondance is starting to load up.
All right, guys, game 2, as this best-of-5 continues on, can Solar tie it up, or is ByuN going to move on 2-0 in this best-of-5?
Game start. Terran, ByuN. Zerg, Solar.
So I got a little excited when I saw this SCV moving out on my on the monitors here.
Yeah, I saw you.
As we were doing the.
I saw you perk up a little bit when you see good at proxy gate. By the way, look at this little like teacup formation that's being made by the Overlord to check for proxies here. So on this map, it is, you know, the big feature of it is the Koreans call it the backyard base. But oh, hey, what's up from New York? Excellent.
New York City.
Welcome. That's a long ass trip, man. What is that? 15 hours from here to
It's a
Seoul?
long flight.
So I was going to say you can do some fast expand builds on this map, but it doesn't matter. He's going 2 racks. I thought he was going 1 racks for a second. And so he's going to have the Reaper pressure. Now, instead of proxying it, which could be a little bit dangerous, what he's going to do is have it set up back at home so that the moment this doesn't work, he just halts all production and he immediately goes and makes a command center.
Tasteless, I was on the same page as you that this was going to be, you know, 2 racks Reaper walled in at the natural ramp as we've seen time and time again, but ByuN is actually doing this gasless.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry.
He is pumping Marines right now.
That's so funny because, like, in my head, I've seen him go for
Of
Reapers
course.
so many times.
It's
I just
almost-
decide that.
It feels automatic when you see a Terran throw down 2 barracks at the ramp like
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
We've seen it so many times in GSL, and every single time it's, at least to the best of my recollection, it's been Reapers. But this is a bit of an interesting twist, and I like this from a best-of-5 build order planning perspective because this is not something that I was necessarily expecting coming into this. And I think Solar, when he sees the 2 racks at the natural ramp, he might also be expecting something like this. But instead, it's 3 Marines coming out the map. I think they're going to get this Overlord, and they might even force a handful of Lings. This is a cool build.
Now, this is very interesting because it has a lot of ideas that seem to kind of contradict each other, right? Like, if you make 2 barracks, right, you need to get something done, right? But then if you're going to do that, and you're going to make Marines, you need to be close because Marines are just literally some of the slowest units in the whole game if they don't have Stim or Medivacs carting them around. But at the same time, if you're going to fast expand, why would you make 2 racks instead of 1, right? I mean, you get your command center up more quickly, your economy would kick in a little bit faster. We have a tech lab and a reactor, and you know, as much as these maps try to become symmetrical in StarCraft, one of the funny things that actually happens if you spawn on the left side is that all of your add-ons shut out on the right side of your building. So, you know, there are exploits for Zerg. When you look at this, I think, well, couldn't you just, you know, come and attack those add-ons? Yeah, 100% you could.
Yeah, it's a bit of a positional imbalance here for Terran to spawn on the top side, but I wonder if, maybe I'm reading a little bit too much into this, but I wonder if ByuN is doing this kind of as a bait. Like, yeah, you can come and attack these add-ons, do it. Meanwhile, he's adding 2 more barracks in his main base. This is 4 barracks before factory right now coming out of ByuN. So he is going to have a massive bio ball, combat shields and stim, both being researched. And for now, ByuN is just powering up on pure marine.
So this looks like a little bit counterintuitive, right? I mean, you look at something like this and you might think, well, can't the Zerg just take that free base in the back and basically turtle and be fine? Yeah, you could, but this Zerg's not doing that. This Zerg's actually expanding out on the map, which subtly makes 2 very different targets that could be pushed into. And whenever you're going to do a 2-base powering play, what you're trying to do is exploit the fact that there may be more than one location that needs defense, and you look for some kind of imbalance there, or at least force them to over-defend and, you know, punish them that way.
That's a great point, Tasteless. Generally, Zergs on this map, they want to take the forward expansions because not only does it help their creep spread, but if you're not able to take that expansion and secure it, you're probably not going to win the game anyway.
Right.
But in this case, it might backfire because ByuN, he's still yet to add a factory. Look, he's hiding the Marines on the ramp. He's only going to show a handful of them here to this Overlord, just enough to get the kill before he's able to retreat. And Solar looking at this, he saw the first 3 Marines, he saw the tech lab and the reactor at the natural. He's probably thinking this is something more akin to a 2-1-1 or maybe a 3-1-1.
Right.
But ByuN, I'm pretty sure still doesn't even have a factory. Instead, he has 23 Marines.
Dude,
the factory's just now starting, and I think Solar is getting the idea.
But he moved the bulk of that through not being seen. Now, we can't read minds, but, you know, if you see just a small number of Marines, you might think this is not the kind of forceful attack that it is. By the way, the Baneling's Nest is sticking out like a sore thumb.
And Baneling's Nest just now finishing. ByuN pushing up this ramp is going to start clearing this creep, but that's a lot of queens here in position. First stim coming in from these Marines, kiting forward, not getting too much damage in. Solar's trying to play for time right now. Finally, the engagement comes off. First queen goes down, second queen getting transfused. Another stim comes in, Baneling's focus fire down.
Okay, he's doing a lot of damage here. But I think he has to give up. I mean, one thing about not having medevacs is, you really don't have a lot you can eke out with the Marines over time. You get like maybe 2 stims in there, and then, the Marines are so squishy, they can almost do nothing.
Yeah, and although Solar lost a handful of queens there, I feel like that trade overall was pretty good for him, especially the first engagement. ByuN maybe stemmed a little early there on creep, and there was a long time that the Marines were stemmed and they weren't attacking any important targets. They weren't attacking Lings, they weren't attacking queens. And because the starport is only just now finishing here for ByuN, these low HP Marines are going to be worse for wear. Solar coming in for a Lynx around. ByuN barely skirting out of that. He's going to try and focus down these Banelings. Shooting the kite away.
Okay, he does manage to corner them up against the wall here. And, you are seeing the pitfalls of not having medevacs, right? Is when you start to lose a fight, you just die.
Yeah, I think ByuN was hoping to get a little bit more damage in with his first Marine push. On paper, I really like the opening, but you got to look at the way that these players are set in the game right now and favor Solar's position.
Right. I like this game for Solar now. I mean, there's a reason why we don't see attacks like that very often. I do wonder if it would have been better for him to try to come in there and shoot the Banelings down as they were making and maybe try to kill the Banelings Nest, but I guess at the end, the Queens are just strong enough. There's enough force there. There's not a lot you can do. So there's some similar ideas to Game 1, but it is a different build order. It is actually a different strategy. But the idea is to basically power on 2 base to really make the Zerg kind of pump the brakes on production. And from there, you try to play a control game. Now, I do think that Terran may have already lost control of this game in general.
Solar is definitely in a much better spot than he was previously. If you think back to the last game, ByuN got about the same amount of damage done with Stim Marines and medevacs, and hold that thought as Solar coming in for a nicer round. ByuN might have to pick up the Marines here if he wants to save their lives. Only 3 actually get out, so that's a nice cleanup again for Solar here.
This game may be one that you can't recover from. I mean, you can't throw your army that many more times into this and expect to get much more out of it,
ByuN's going to need some very favorable trades if he's going to want to start pulling ahead in this one, because Solar right now, his economy is in a much better spot than it was previously. Not only is he up to 4 bases, which he never really accomplished in the previous game. Maybe he had a 4th base up for like a minute.
He's 5 bases.
He's taking a 5th hatchery even.
Yeah, and he still has that free base in the far back. Kind of the cherry on top economically. Some drops are going to come in. Let's see what this can actually get done. It is a wide area that the Zerg has to defend.
Siege Tank brought along with this drop as well, so ByuN's eventually going to try and trade this out. First shot comes in. think ByuN wanted to get a little bit more damage on the Banelings to focus him down with the Marines, but not able to find it. Now he's coming to the main base, and this is not bad damage here for ByuN. As far as trades go, this is about as good as it can get, but I feel like from the Terran side of things, you're going to need a lot more chip damage like this to kind of even the game up, and we'll see if ByuN is able to do it right now. Look at the minimap, his third base is now fully up and operational, adding in Liberators 2 at a time.
Yeah, these medevacs can't really do much of anything. You know, Terran is still in their little tri-base setup here, taking that free base. Another push is going to come out, but I'm starting to think if we see any more pushes get flattened, it's going to be, you know, too far gone to kind of recover from, right? I mean, Terran's not going to be getting enough done to kind of make headway anywhere here. Because Zerg is basically about to the point where they're going to be out of control. We're almost to the brink of that. This tank is so far out, and the tanks are, I think it's only one, so they're so small in numbers. Sorry, 2 tanks here.
Yeah, 2 tanks positioned away from each other, and the creep spread's at a point where ByuN has to push this really slowly, because I think he realizes the same situation as you do, Tasteless, that he needs to get something done with this push. He can't really just trade it out unless it's an extremely cost-effective trade. So a lot of what he's doing right now, posturing with this army in the front, he's trying to set up counterattacks like he did in the previous game, where he hits 2 different positions at once. But as it is right now, he has to work very slowly to clear this creep, because if he tries to push in with this army, with just 3 siege tanks and 4 liberators on creep, with the Baneling count as high as it is, the Bio's just going to get cleaned up. Solar wants to trade that out, so it's got to be very slow. And as a result, he's not able to find much damage with a medevacs yet on Solar's side of the base.
Another push comes in here. It does seem like we're seeing Terran kind of fall in, oh my god. We're seeing Terran fall into a lot of the trappings of an overly aggressive mid-game, which is kind of starting to peter out into the late game here.
I do like this position here for ByuN if he's able to make it work. Right now, he has taken an army supply lead.
He's
quite
actually wrecking these queens over here.
And these Liberators are getting a ton of damage in. All right, these Ling and Baneling connections have to be really good on the Bio, but ByuN can actually just lift off. So Solar will clean up this army, but I'm not sure if that was cost-effective enough for him to be happy with it.
Are those the same medevacs from earlier?
Yeah, they are.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, they've just been camped out between the natural and the 4th base for Solar for the better part of the last few minutes. And as far as cost-effective trades go, I think that was pretty good for ByuN. Solar still hasn't really reached the point where he's running away with the game per se. ByuN's been doing a good job of keeping him in check since the kind of faulty early game. And now ByuN's army here is looking pretty scary, and Solar hasn't been able to secure the creep spread outside of these 2 bases.
Okay, so the inching in continues on. Again, there's no obvious weak point here for the Zerg. I like ByuN's position. I think the Marine spread is really good, but is this enough to hack and saw your way through so many bases? Well, this could be a start over here. Just trying to delay income as best you can. I like the little Marine block over there in the mineral patch. Just trying to use any bit of the geography you can to try to get an edge. The tanks are going to slide in a little bit closer. I don't believe any tanks are in range just yet of that hatchery. The Vipers are soaking up for energy.
And those Vipers gathering energy right now. They want to be able to plant blinding clouds and potentially abducts on the siege tanks and liberators here. Now that they're full on energy, Solar might be trying to break this position. You see him posturing his army in 3 different locations on the map. Looks like he's going to go for a 180 surround. And here we go. Ling and Banelings flooding in from both sides. Blinding clouds on the siege tanks, and this is a very nice trade here for Solar.
Yeah, a clean wipe there. Another attack in over here. The hatchery's not going to be taken out yet. It looks like ByuN wants to try to take a fight over here first. There's so many Hydras and so many Banes. And frankly, you look at over on the Terran side of the map, and I just don't see anything other than these 3 bases. I mean, there's been very little growth, and therefore, I'm starting to think that the winds are going to start blowing here in the Zerg's direction.
Does start to feel that way. ByuN has been able to get a little bit of damage done, but Solar just cleaned up that last attack so well with the 180 surround that he had, with his Ling Banelings, with the good ability usage on the Vipers, and ByuN right now, he's kind of scrambling to get something done. He's trying to find some damage here with these drops, but these tend to do best when you're able to really lay siege down on another position and force the Zerg to split their army perfectly. Right now, the problem for Solar to solve these drops is very simple. It's the only thing on the map he really has to worry about until this push comes into effect here. And as a result, he's really powering hard on the bases that he's got. The one scary thing for him is that he hasn't been able to get the creep spread outside of this third base ramp just yet. But there's just been so much going on that you can't really fault him for it. It's been a very hectic game.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's kind of remarkable that ByuN is still getting anything done at all here with these drops, but, you know, the supplies do tell, I think, the bigger picture is that, you know, these armies are actually smaller and smaller every time. Zerg hasn't gotten to the point where they can mass up that much more, but each of these attacks become so easily cleaned up. As you can see now, I mean, these Banes can basically chase the Terran literally all the way back to the entrance of his base.
The blinding clouds are just perfect there for Solar. Every single tank neutralized, and now the Lings and Banelings flooding in. Hydralisk take down the siege tanks as well. And ByuN, I don't think he's gonna be able to take this fourth base. That's it. Solar ties it up 1-1, and we've got a series tasteless.
Yeah, I think that was a much better performance there from Solar. I do think that we could talk about the you know, the last 5 minutes of that game, you know, all day, but I think it's more important to just point out the two-base push with no Medivacs fell flat on its face.
It didn't get the value that it needed.
No, not at all.
Both Game 1 and Game 2, ByuN set his eyes on getting to the same position in the mid-game, where you're going to be laying siege onto the fourth base, and you're going to have drops on the exterior bases on the other side of the Zerg. And he just chose 2 different ways of getting there. In Game 1, it was a CC first into eventually 2-1-1 and then 5 racks, and then the third CC. And in Game 2, it was 4 racks before Factory. So he lowered his tech speed so much to get that attack off, and he wasn't really able to find too much damage, so the momentum was just completely gone. There was no wind in his sails, so to speak, for that first push, and it's kind of a testament to his abilities as a player that he was able to extend the game for so long. And there were even moments where Solar, it seemed like, was kind of struggling a bit, holding off the initial pushes, but once those Vipers came out, that's really the issue, is if you're not able to keep the Zerg economy in check when you're playing that high-octane, high-aggression style as ByuN did, the Vipers eventually come out, and if they have that with a powerful drone economy behind it, it is just so difficult to deal with.
It does seem like the Vipers are basically the tipping point there. Tied up 1-1 now. We've got ourselves a series. ByuN has so far really tried to lean on the two-base powering play. 2 very different pushes, though. I think Game 1 a little bit more straightforward. Game 2 was really, he was trying to disguise a pretty, you know, aggro shove into the Zerg space. But when the Zerg identified what's happening, you just make what you need and you stop it. Otherwise, Terran would always do that, and they'd win games all the time. So ByuN may abandon, you know, a deceptive 2-base style in favor of simply straight-up 2-base style, where you just try to come out and do whatever damage you can do and hit them when you can.
Yeah, and Data C, it's a bit easier to take 4 bases as Terran. The 5th base is quite a bit harder, and so I wonder if we're going to see more high aggression style coming out of ByuN, because ByuN, he doesn't really strike me as that super late game player here in TVZ, especially the way that he's been playing his game so far. I mean, he played a best of 5 that went to map 4 against Maru and it finished in like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think the players are getting ready. I'm very curious what opening specifically ByuN is going to choose here, because Game 1 and Game 2, although they reach the same point, very different paths to get there.
I'm still waiting for this game to start. All right, it actually is loading up. I thought, I was like, did somebody call for a timeout? What's happening here? All right, Game 3 loads up now. ByuN versus Solar tied up 1-1 in this best of 5. The winner will go on into the finals of the GSL Super Tournament, where they will face off against either Bunny or Dark. Let's go.
Game start. Terran, ByuN. Zerg, Solar.
Oh. We got a drone on the map.
Is there going to proxy 2-Rex this game tasteless?
Proxy hatch.
Wow, he is. Okay. Oh, I'm excited about this.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting.
Against CC first.
Oh, well, all right. I think Zerg wins.
I think this might be Zerg finally rolling the dice.
This has been a popular CC first map. Now, what's funny is, you know, we talk about, well, if you try to counter CC first, they don't do it. From
Welcome
Australia.
Welcome.
This is, we talk about, okay, if you're going to try to counter CC first, well, you better hope there's CC in first because otherwise you're probably going to lose. Well, obviously a hatchery this close to the Terran is intended to kill them right away. What better scenario than for a Terran to be making a command center before the barracks?
Yeah, we talked about this not only in Season 3, but also the Super Tournament, how it's difficult in a best-of-5 series for Zerg to really hard counter the CC first opening because it just gets up so quickly, right? And they're able to fly back to their main base if something absolutely terrible goes wrong. We've seen Zergs even go pool first, not like a 12 pool, the pool first, and the Lings get there and the CC's already done. So they really have to coin flip to make it work, and that's the reason why we don't see Zergs do anything super cheesy to try to deal with it. But Solar this time, going for the proxy hatch, double gas, Ro.4 in play, is the ultimate coin flip, and it's like he struck gold. This is...
And keep in mind, he doesn't know yet that it's CC first. Probably a lot of trepidation over here for Solar, but the moment you get there and you see the layout and what you're dealing with, you're going to be very happy.
Solar's going to be, he's going to be very happy with it. And ByuN, notably, did not even SCV scout. So he has literally no idea that this is happening at all, and 3 roaches already in production.
He's not going to know until the roaches show up.
No, and ByuN even went reactor first on the barracks, so he has literally no military units on the field at all. 4th roach started. Solar also banking that gas for the Ravagers, and I feel like this is about as build it or win as it gets. We'll see if ByuN's able to pull the rabbit out of the hat, but I feel like this is Solar's game to lose.
I guess you just only make roaches from that one proxy hatch. I guess that's the way to do it, and you just have enough. Because, when the 3 Ravagers come up, and I want to look at ByuN's face. Hold on. Oh, yeah, there it is. Wah, wah,
we all know that feeling.
GG,
he doesn't even try it. I mean,
no, that's what I call StarCraft.
You got some friends at home you want to show StarCraft to?
That's right. What do you mean you don't think it's a cool game? Watch this.
Show them the ByuN vs. Mario series and then show them this game.
Well, that's that. Starting to see these Zergs really grab these Terran players by the horns when it comes to CC first. And I wanted, I guess we're here on the last day for GSL Cast for 2020, but we have a lot more TVZs ahead tonight, and you got to wonder, are we going to see some more stuff like that? Because, yeah, you can just cheese out a player that does that and punish them. And, how much more often are we going to see CC first from ByuN moving forward? I don't know.
Absolutely. And it's something that I would also like to see from Zerg players when they're ahead in series to do, because when you have a map or 2 to spare, I mean, this time it's 1-1, so that's not exactly the situation, but if you're up, say, 2-0 in a series and you're playing against a Terran and you suspect maybe on Data C, for example, they might go CC first, I would love to see more Zergs kind of greed check the Terrans and go for builds like that.
I agree, and I do wonder what exactly the game looks like if they didn't be greedy. Is there still a chance that has any ability to do anything? I would imagine no, but I'd like to see it pan out. And I'm sure if CC first remains popular, we'll probably have it. By the way, Data C, a lot of CC firsts on that map.
Yeah, you have that high ground natural expansion, so you're able to secure the ramp with a couple of buildings and defend that way. And so far in GSL, from at least the games that I've seen, Terrans haven't really been greed checked up until now.
Yeah. We were waiting for it too. We kept talking about
the reasons why they don't do it.
Well, but also if Terrans keep doing it, something's going to happen. People are going to start to play against it. And look at a best of 5. What a rug pull to pull on to ByuN. I mean, ByuN looked extremely strong in that first game, but when you do a hard counter to a build like that, and again, you go CC first, I mean, that's massive risk. A normal build is you're going to get your barracks first, maybe a command center later, or you could tech and expand even later than that. But, these other builds ensure that you don't die to any nonsense.
Yeah, and that was just kind of bad roll of the dice there for ByuN. Not only did he go CC first, but he also didn't go for an SCV scout, so he had literally no idea when reactor before Marine, and I think he had maybe 2 Marines out when that happened. And
ByuN's still laughing.
Yeah, he was laughing after the game's over. I mean, you can't...
Well, you can't even be upset by that.
Exactly.
It's like, all right, you got me, whatever. We're going to try again in the next game. Stargazers for map number 4 here. ByuN with 1 win, Solar with 2. If Solar takes this, he's going on to the GSL special. What am I doing?
Super Tournament.
I almost tripped myself up. Super Tournament finals. I was at special tournament. I'm like, I don't think we have one of those.
The special tournament.
Otherwise, ByuN ties it up 2-2.
I would like a special tournament.
Yeah.
Terran, ByuN. Solar.
So they're up 2-1 now, after that nice build order selection in the previous game. And ByuN, will he go CC first again? He's already got the depot on the low ground. And Barracks queued up, there it is. So no CC first this time. And also not going to be the same build from game 2. This isn't going to be 2x Marines. He's already getting his gas. And
Oh, the hot six moment.
Hot six!
Go quick, there's no time.
Let's go!
Oh, he's just going to open it? What?
I don't know what the hesitation was. I couldn't hear the Korean commentators.
Yeah, I didn't hear what they said. I was like, we're just going to catch you opening the can? I'm like, hold on, put me on camera. I open a can too. I'm like, all right, ball's in your court. Is there anybody in here who can't open the can?
It's like a jar of pickles. Like
That's
someone
right.
just can't do
Yeah,
it.
no, if this was sponsored by Jars of Pickles, we would have a totally different case here.
With 3 racks from ByuN in base with a gas.
So again,
All right.
like we saw before, you know, normally you make this right by their hatchery because you want to minimize the travel distance. But I guess you make this in your main, and at least you can kind of, you know, there's a road to recovery. But again, I feel like you have to make this close to them. I feel like otherwise the Zerg's just going to kind of slow you down and kill you. But keep in mind, this map is shaped in kind of a funny way. You don't necessarily have vision of their attack path as easily because you both spawn at the top, but have to push through the, I don't know, just like one layer below that. Yeah, I can't talk for some reason. Yeah.
No, I got you. Yeah, it is interesting that ByuN hasn't decided to proxy any of these barracks at all, instead just building the third one in the main base. And I wonder how many Reapers he's going to pool, if he's going to pool any. I don't think this is the kind of build that you come in with everything straight away, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you do. Second Reaper's already on the way. And ByuN, he's so good with these Reapers in small numbers. Can't wait to see what he can do with Reapers in high numbers. This one's getting a ton of damage on these Lings. And no, normally in a game of TVZ, that doesn't matter, the damage on these Lings, but this is 3 racks Reaper, man. That damage, it's going to count. And you see Solar immediately queuing up yet another Queen. I think he has an idea that this might be what's happening, but will ByuN be able to get big damage in?
Now again, Reapers, they don't have a lot of utility later on in the game, so like, you need to make something happen right away, otherwise you're going to be in a lot of trouble.
Solar is still droning, by the way. After he saw the second Reaper, he queued up 2 more drones. He sees the third Reaper, and he queues up even more.
Well, I think the third isn't the giveaway yet, but when he sees the fourth and then the fifth, and he realizes, oh, this is a commitment. Oh no, he lost a Reaper!
And not supposed to lose Reapers in situations like this. Everyone matters.
You need every Reaper to be in there and to count. Now, we are seeing Solar begin to kind of almost cower into the corner here. He needs to try to keep this these Queens alive as much as possible.
Exactly. He wants to keep these Queens alive before they he wants to keep them alive long enough that he can transfuse them, but ByuN knows that he's on a timer, and he immediately goes up that ramp to snipe one of the Queens.
Reapers are still inbound. This isn't going to slow down. Drones are going to be sent back down over to the expansion. This may be ill-timed.
Circling speed about 80% done.
Now,
right now is ByuN's window to get a lot of damage in, but with 3 Queens out.
Now, when Link Speed's done, you can start to actually surround these. And once these are surrounded, they're going to die extremely quickly. Almost nothing dies as fast as a Reaper.
Keep in mind that Reaper production has not yet stopped.
Now, he does have grenades as well, so he could be able to kind of shuffle the Lings around. But, you know, seems like Zerg's still able to breathe. That third command center about to finish, as is the factory as well.
ByuN is still making Reapers, by the way. 3 at a time for every single barracks. So this is not what I expected. I thought that perhaps he would try to get this kind of damage done with pressure early and then transition into something a little bit more akin to what we saw in Game 1 and Game 2. But he made another round of Reapers. He even queues up another one. This is going to be so many Reapers. 2 more Reapers in production before the first Marine. How many Reapers is that going to be? Like 15, 16, maybe more? I want to see him get +1 infantry weapons, because you know Reapers have the two pistols, right?
That's right.
He's gonna go 15 Reapers.
He's still making. He's made 1 Marine now. That's the black sheep of the Terran army. And he's making the command center now at the 3rd. But yeah, Reaper production's still on. And I got to say, I'm a little bit confused. I mean, normally this would have stopped a while ago. Now remember,
probably. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, when you go for this many Reapers, that's cool, but the problem is that you don't have Marines. You know,
right.
and I think people can easily take for granted the fact that you know, you're going to see a bunch of Marines almost every game pushing out and controlling creep tumors and, you know, protecting the tank and doing all that. You are giving that up when you make this many Reapers. And so that should be the big takeaway for everybody here now is that, you know, this is not without sacrifice. And, you know, it's possible that, you know, you can kind of just spring this crazy Reaper attack onto them. Maybe even use Medivacs, I guess.
But Solar sent a lane just a moment ago into the natural expansion. I'm quite sure that he saw at least most of the Reapers, so he knows that there's a high count.
Well,
yeah, you're right. He's going with a Medivacs. Okay.
Yeah.
This is not something that I have seen before. Maybe I'm missing some part of the Terran meta, but all right, here we go. 15 Reaper timing attack with 2 Medivacs. Let's do it. All right, gonna lift. Almost loses that Medivac. That is so close.
Well, I think we're answering the question of why we don't see this very often. You know, it can't hold water. Now, he didn't use any grenades to try to bounce the Lings around.
No, I think he only threw a handful of them at most.
Terran's now fully switched into Marines, but again, it's going to be late. Liberators are coming now as that 3rd CC is going to land over at the 3rd base.
Maybe there is some kind of cohesion that he could find with the Reapers and Liberators coming into the main base here. I think that might be what ByuN is looking for, but he's got to be careful. One of those Medivacs on such low HP does get sniped. Grenades coming in. Only 8 of these Reapers will be able to escape if Solar gets a full surround. Gonna scan, try and clear some of this creep. That Liberator just posturing over there at the top, and those Lings, they do get a surround over here, so ByuN's gonna have to lift off some of these Reapers. Oh, microing up to the top, and yeah, that's all the Reapers, but 8 going down.
Well, you know, Terran still has play here, but I got to tell you, everything that's happened early on isn't working. I guess there are probably games where you just don't expect more Reapers to come out, and maybe you are just vulnerable to that, but you know, Solar's played a pretty conservative game every game, with the exception of that one he cheesed. And honestly, this is just getting shut down. If these Queens can kill off this Medivac, that's going to be the end. And you know, the thing is, Marines, they've got stim, so you could at least drop some Marine stim and try to do extra damage. Reapers, you don't have the same kind of opportunities. They are very different units. Now, there's an attack down here, and you know, Terran maybe just needs 1 or 2 little victories. This would be one that would be huge, actually, if he could take out this hatchery.
Yeah, but ByuN, he still doesn't have stim. He still doesn't have combat shields. No infantry weapons either. These are vanilla Marines.
Yeah, these are
the
Marines
basic as it gets.
Game. Yeah,
the Kirkland brand Marines, man. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I'm glad you pointed out that he did not have stim. I was watching him like, this feels awfully slow.
It could have been a good engagement. He could have even gotten the hatchery, but he invested so much gas into the Reapers that everything is kind of slow, and I think he might only even have 1 tech lab in total on these barracks because he went straight from combat shields into stim. Stim only just now starting, and ByuN, he's not really out of the game. His economy is a bit behind, but the scary thing here is that Solar has kind of gone unchecked. The 15 Reapers, they did not get very much done. They didn't kill very many drones, if any. They didn't find too many Queens. I think they got the first one, and that was about it. And so Solar's been able to get up to 4 bases. He's been able to get 1-1 upgrades. He's now going to have Baneling speed. He's going up to 78 drones. He has a lot of things going in his favor. And on top of that, you know, one thing you might expect to at least get as ByuN in this scenario, if not big economic damage, is you might hope to contain the creep spread a little bit with 15 Reapers and 2 Medivacs, right? But
sure.
He also failed to do that. Solar's creep is already reaching the middle of the map, so for ByuN right now, these next couple of minutes are going to be critical, and it's going to be an uphill battle. He has to get a lot of value, I think, out of these next few engagements.
Well, he's got a pincer here.
Two-prong attack.
Yeah, he's going to try to come in here and hit this other side.
Such a funny little army.
Now, I do worry that this may be too flimsy on both sides.
It seems like it'd be very finicky to control, right?
Well, that's the problem, right? I mean, I remember, like, before this game came out, people were talking about, oh, they're going to have to all micro on multiple fronts. You actually can't micro on multiple fronts. You have to be in the place to micro it. You can kind of set certain tasks and try to come back later on and deal with it, but ultimately he has to decide which one's more important. And so if Zerg just simply has enough to aim move either army into that, you're going to be fine.
That's well said. It's very difficult to do stutter step micro or focus down Banelings, for example, in 2 spots. It's nigh impossible, even for the best players in the world. You really just want to take one fight that you're microing heavily and one fight that you can kind of aim move and let rest.
You can try to automate it as best you can and then back out. It really is a game of priority so often.
Right.
Well, pretty good control here from ByuN, but
yeah, but that Widowmine shot couldn't have gone worse, I think. It even got a lot of splash damage in on his bio, so ByuN's gonna have to retreat for now from that position, and you can tell he's trying to set up these two-prong attacks, but just as you said, Tasteless, these, even a three-prong, so he's gonna hit the main base too. This is very difficult to control here for ByuN, but he does have an army supply advantage, so let's see if he's able to leverage that a little bit here. Gonna kite away from these Zerglings, has to lift up away from these Banes. Those Reapers finally will go down, and honestly, that's not too much of a loss here for ByuN. I think he wants to remax on Marines and Marauders that are much easier to get maximum value out of in terms of control. And he's gonna continue to press on 3 different locations here. This 5th base for Solar is being contested, but that's a lot of Lings, a lot of Banelings, a good number of Queens as well, and now Viper production almost fully underway. First Vipers are popped. They will begin gathering energy, but this is different from Game 2 in that there aren't really a lot of siege tanks. This army is much less vulnerable to Vipers than the previous composition was. It's almost pure Marine, Marauder, Medevac, and there's just a handful of Widowmines mixed in.
he's still got that small set of infantry up at the top. The push proceeds onward. Zerg is on 5 bases, by the way, as Terran is now on 4, soon to be 5, as more command centers are making. 2-2 is about to finish, and this would be a prime timing here to try to come in and attack.
I think this is the moment that ByuN has been waiting for to really crank the attacks into overdrive as it's coming in just as 2-2 finishes. Solar from 2 different sides going to try and get us around. Parasitic Bomb comes in on the Medevacs, and those Banelings get some nice connections there because ByuN is focused over here on this 5th base for Solar. It looks like he will be able to take it out. Widowmine's already sieged. Solar now coming in. ByuN gets the damage that he needs done and gets away. Oh, unfortunately for him, only 2 Medevacs here, so will not be able to save those Widowmines as it's about 10 more army supply being thrown to the wind. But to ByuN's credit, he's getting a lot done, Tasteless. These 3-prong attacks have been getting work. He might even get another hat trick. If he can reset Solar to a 3-base economy, this is a huge win for ByuN, and he's able to do it.
Yeah, he's kind of making it happen, isn't he? He's also prevented mining, for at least for a little bit, over at that 4th base, the one that's close to the main.
Yeah, that's 2 hatcheries dead. Solar's only mining off of 3 bases, and the main base is fully, or almost fully mined out. Natural expansion, I think, is on half minerals.
This is kind of crazy, man. Considering how this game started, honestly, I had kind of given up on, in some sense, on ByuN when I saw the 3 Reaper play. I'm like, there's no way this is going to work. You know, this is like a decade too late to try something like this. And here he is making it work. Now, ByuN's going to continue to persist onward. As he's now sending out more and more waves of Terran infantry.
Yeah, I was in the same boat as you, where you invested in 15 Reapers that don't get much done. They don't even really control the creep. You're not going to be in a good position going into the mid-game. And if he had gone for the same Marine tank composition we saw in Game 1 or Game 2, I think that's absolutely the case. But here, in Game number 4, ByuN going for almost pure Marine Marauder Medevac, maxed army, 3-prong attacks, really leveraging his multitasking, his multi-prong attacks, which he excels in as a Terran. He's one of the best in the world, up there rivaling players like Maru in terms of how well he's able to control these armies. And you just see him time and time again getting so much value all over the map with these little squadrons of units.
All right, Zerg may have an opportunity to try to fight back, especially with the Lurker tech available. This is an important moment to identify if the Terrans actually overextended a little bit, or if they're able to kind of hang with the Zerg, as you know, the Lurkers really allow the Terran to be forced away pretty steadily here.
Yeah, I wonder if we're going to see Solar try to go for some kind of killing blow, as we saw Dark do in his series against Cure, where he just lays siege with the Lurkers on either the 4th or the 5th base of Terran. But perhaps now Solar doesn't feel obligated to do that because economically he's not in a bad spot anymore. The 4th and the 5th base, once again, they are up and running. He's even posturing to take the 6th base as the gold. So for Solar right now, economically, he's doing fine. He just has to weather the storm of this Terran army for the next couple of minutes.
Well, for now, Zerg's got the gold base. Terran's going to come down here and try to clean this up. And, I mean, obviously, I think there's not a whole lot that Zerg can really do to deny this, although we do see a wave of Zerg units coming down now into the south. The gold base is going to be abandoned. We are going to get to the point, by the way, as the game goes on, we're going to start running out of map.
It's true. That gold base is oftentimes a decider if we go to a split map scenario here in TVZ, as we sometimes do here on Stargazers. And Nidus Canal going down. ByuN does spot it. Knows that this tech is on the field, but is he paying attention to this army back at home? Looks like he is as he kites away from these Banelings off creep. Oh, no, those Marines! A little bit of a miss micro there from ByuN.
And Solar's continuing to ramp up maxed out supply. The question is there any kind of soft spot base-wise? He did wipe out most of that army pretty easily, by the way. More snipes are going to come in here and try to take out some of these Hydras.
Yeah, but these snipes are going off on low-value targets. You would love for ByuN. Oh, hold that thought, Tasteless.
He doesn't see this.
No, he doesn't. That Nidus Canal going off in the backdoor expansion here for ByuN could be devastating.
This could allow the Zerg to pry the Terran open here. As there's going to be, the furthest possible spot from what we're watching right now is about to be ambushed inside the main. And a lot of these bases down here in the bottom right seem to be pretty vulnerable. Lurkers come out immediately, a lot of damage being done, but enough from the Terran that he basically fights back. But that's not without giving up other positions here. The Planetary is going to go down. As Zerg has basically drawn Terran into their quadrant once more. And he's not done yet. More Banes are going to come forward here as ByuN's supply plummets. We may be to the point of no return here. I think this game is over.
Looks like the beginning of the end here for ByuN as his supply dips below 80, and that's going to be it. GG. Solar's going to win the best of 5, 3-1, and be our first finalist here in the final Super Tournament of the year.
Solar cannot hide his smile. He hasn't been this happy since he won the Taste Slam party. Man. Look, I mean, he played very well. I think ByuN was impressive. But ByuN, you know what it is? He has these really fancy, bad ideas.
I don't know if they're necessarily bad ideas.
They're bad, State.
I mean, to play the devil's advocate, like in Game 2, for example, when ByuN went for the Marine push, to me that kind of reminds me of like the Hellbat Marauder push or Hellbat like Marine push, where it's not a killing move. You kind of move out on the map and you want to kill queens, you want to control creep, you want to get drones and set the Zerg back, and then you set it for the mid game, right? It's a way of getting to Marine tank Manivac that's just a little bit different. And that game, it didn't pan out. Solar was very on top of his defense.
15 Reapers, man. 15 Reapers. I mean, think of how little that did and how good ByuN looked anyways. I think that if we do more like what we had in Game 1, that was a very normal two-base powering play. He looked his best in that game. I think he looked his worst in the start of Game 2 and the start of Game 4, where it's like, okay, this is kind of abstract. But the fact that he still did so well in Game 4, despite, all those Reapers, they could have been Marines.
That's a good point.
It could have been a real push potential. I'm not saying he would have won or ended the game earlier, but, that it's a better position to be in. And so, ByuN, he showed that he can definitely macro. He can play that kind of push aggro game, the control game. But it's important, how you get there. And I really do feel like with him, it was a little bit, he's handicapping himself.
A little bit. The builds did not work out as planned. Maybe there's something that happened in practice that let him think that it worked. But guys, we're going to go to a break. When we get back, Dark versus Bunny in the second semifinal match of GSL Super Tournament.